All right, guys. So, welcome to another edition of trying to analyze a golf tool pro swing. So, here we go. We have Hideki Matsuyama. So, Hideki Matsuyama is really famous for his transition onto his downswing. More specifically, he's very famous for really holding his top position and then transitioning onto his lower half in quite a long kind of fashion. So usually when you see them go up the top of their golf swing, they transition onto their left side and then they follow through. Where you can see Hideki, a lot of like the other Korean players, he tends to go at the top of his swing and then he will pause for a moment or two and then he'll come back down. Okay, so this really is a fantastic way to really make sure you're getting a lot of pressure onto your left foot as you start your downswing. Okay, so let's have a look here and see how his swing is made up. So if we have a look at his posture, so his posture is really good. He's got a nice 45-degree angle. Okay, we can also see that his rear is kind of just behind his heels there, so he's in a very balanced position. Okay, it looks like he's set up very much parallel to his target line, so his toe line and his shoulder line is all going in the same direction. Looks like he's going quite straight here. That's about his line here. Okay, so let's have a look at his takeaway. All right. Okay, so as soon as he takes that club back, we can see just after he takes that club back, his body will start to turn. So the trunk of his body is starting to turn as well. Okay, so his hips are starting to open up. Okay, now he gets to the first position, and I always call this the most important part of the golf swing. So the first position is defined as when the club reaches parallel to the ground. So again, we've studied a lot of different golf swings, and we see the same trend as well with Hideki's swing. So in the first position, we can see that the club head and the hands are forming a straight line. Okay, so you'll see this very common. All the swings are done. Rory McIlroy, Max Homa, Tony Finau. It's very much the same takeaway. Okay, and we can also see here, coupled with that, he's just letting his hips turn as well. So his hips are turned probably about 20 degrees at this point. Okay, so it's a little bit of a hip turn there. And also see what we see at the beginning is that the distance from his hands to his body, it's probably around a handspan distance. And I always talk about keeping the same distance from the hands to the body through the takeaway. Now, we've seen some other exceptions. So we've seen people like Rory, there's Dustin Johnson. Those kind of guys actually do extend their arms out a little bit. But on the way through, you can see that just before impact, they get their hands back into their original position, the original distance from the body that they originally started at. Okay. Now, I always preach that during the lesson to try and keep that distance the same from the hands to the body during the takeaway, because it just gives you the best chance when you return back to impact to get those hands back in that same position. Okay, so now we've got to the first position. All right, so from here, also we have a look at the club face. Again, very similar to what we've seen before. So his club face is very square. His club face should basically be on the same angle as his spine. That really determines whether the club face is square or not. So you can see he's very square there according to his spine angle. Okay, now he gets to his top position. Okay, so from this first position, he's now going to take the club a little bit more around the body. Now he gets to the top. Okay, so we can see there that the second position, his hands are a little bit back from his right shoulder. So this is a very common position. You see Tiger Woods here, you see Rory McIlroy here. So, and this is the biggest thing to really take away. It's not about taking the club to the first position and then just going straight up in between your right shoulder and your neckline. The second position, you've actually got to allow the club to come a little bit around the body. Okay, so that flattens out the path at the top. So right here, Hideki has a very beautiful top position, very powerful and very accurate position at the top of his swing. His club face, if we look at his club face, it actually should be on the same angle as his left arm. So his club face is on the same angle as his left arm. Okay, so he's very square at the top of his swing. Now let's see what he does as he transitions down. His famous move as he comes back down. All right, so now he starts through here. Now it's interesting because when he starts down, it almost looks like he's going to come over the top. So he does turn, he turns his left hip quite fast to the left. And it nearly looks like that his hand position is going to start coming over the top. So let's just have a look at that a little bit slowly. So let's draw that line down to the ball. So as he comes back down, yeah, so that it's interesting. See, the hands push toward the ball ever so slightly. This sort of move that I'm doing there, you can see that the hands are kind of pushing forward just a little bit. And that's because he's turned his left hip to the left quite fast. But then the hands come back almost immediately behind that white line. So the interesting part about Hideki's transition is that he turns his hip a little bit to the left, but then he does a lateral shift forward. Okay, so usually what you see is that there will be a lateral shift forward first, and then you turn your hips. It almost seems like that Hideki turns very fast to the left, but then he does a lateral shift. Okay, and then he drops his club behind that white line as he comes back down. So now he's in a perfect position. So that's very interesting. It almost looks like he's going to start coming over the top, but then he doesn't. He then kind of has a lateral shift. He brings the shaft down underneath that white line, so he's back in a really good position. Now he comes through that ever most important part of the golf swing. Okay, so now he's just in line with his right elbow. So this is the position where you see a lot of really great golfers. They try and position that shaft right on their right elbow, or if they're faders of the ball, they tend to position the shaft higher up, so it's more up here. Okay, so Max Homa tends to come down a little bit steeper, and Max Homa hits more of a fade. Now, if I have a look at Hideki, based on this position here, he's going to hit either a fairly straight shot, or possibly he's going to hit a draw. Okay, so it does really depend on what they do through the ball. Sometimes they can do some real late movements as they hit the ball. So sometimes they can be in this position, and just before they hit it, they might swing further to the left, which means they're going to develop a bit more of a fade. Okay, so let's have a look here. So right now, to me, it looks like he's got a bit of a draw swing. And I don't really know how he hits the ball, but right now it looks like he's got a draw swing. Okay, his club face to me, let's have a look coming down. Okay, so his club face looks a little bit open there. And the shaft is actually quite underneath his right arm. Okay, so it's underneath his right arm with the club face open. So to be honest, it's not the most ideal position here, because as we saw with Hideki before on his takeaway, the club face was very square. It was almost a little bit shut, but now he's got the face a little bit open. The shaft's going underneath his right arm, coming down. So the club face is just behind his hands now. Okay, so his hands are here, club face is behind, just there. All right, so from there, what he'll have to do is try and swing back to the left. So he's got his club a little bit behind his body. The face is a little bit open. So if he's not careful, he might block one to the right. And it might also move even further right. So because the face is open with the path slightly inside, if he's not careful, if he doesn't do some really good compensations through the ball, he might do like a block cut shot to the right. Let's have a look. Looks not too bad there. Looks like he's trying to square it up now. Okay, comes to the ball. Really great spine angle. Okay, he's rotating very well. Looks like he's hit that right out of the center. Coming through. Looks like it's heading straight. Okay, it's hard to know what the ball did after that. Okay, you can actually see that Hideki's taken his right arm off the club after he's finished his shot. So I dare say this wasn't one of Hideki's best swings, but I can already see there that he would just have to be a little bit careful coming down because he does drop the shaft fairly inside with an open club face. So he has to be, and you can see he's very good still through the ball. Like just before impact, I can see that club face squaring up. But just he comes down a little bit open and the shaft gets inside. So I dare say with his coach, he'd probably be working on trying to rotate more to the left as he starts down to basically get that shaft staying above his right arm a little bit longer coming down and having the face a little more square. So you'd have to work on rotating the club face a little bit more. I'm not sure why he's taking the hand off. I mean, possibly maybe he steamed it a little bit. Maybe the ball ended up going to the right. It's hard to say. Usually when a player takes his hand off, it'd be a contact reason. Okay. All right, guys. So thank you very much for tuning in. This was the swing of Hideki Matsuyama, and you can see a very, very good golf swing with some really key things that we've seen with a lot of tour pros at the moment. The tour pros at the elite level, and we're talking about the takeaway and the top position and really that first transition down. All right, so stay tuned for my next dissection of another tour pro swing.